Why paint in the 19th century, or why paint in the 16th century? Why paint? Why paint? Why paint? Well, I think that, more than the contemporary art world has lost an understanding of what painting is about, but I think the whole world in general has maybe lost an understanding of what painting is and how you make a painting and what it requires of the painter and maybe even what it requires of the viewer. Because we live in a world that's just completely inundated with images.
Of course, we live in the most difficult to define, or what people are struggling to define artistically, is what comes after postmodernism.
Daily life has gotten really digital, and I'm on the computer, and everybody's on it, and everything else. And then I have this working method, which involves a stick and some animal hairs on the tip of it, and some pulverized colored rocks, and just real basic material, and that's a relief to me.
Everybody's got like email and Facebook, and so the ways that we like communicate are like very separate from the physical world in a lot of ways, and the way that we that's the way that we experience a lot of things,
And also it makes me feel like I'm sandwiched between this past tradition and a future that's coming real fast. And I find that an interesting place to be, because like the internet gives me such an expanded access to images. I couldn't get those things so fast before, and I use those now, and they're informing my work in a way that that I didn't have before. So that's a great thing. And then I think also certain barriers are breaking down too, because I don't think there's much difference between abstract and representational painting anymore. I mean, they're both in the same boat, right? They're not digital, they're not performance or anything like that.
The fact that people can accept now the notion that there is no such thing, perhaps, as progress as it has been conceived of or thought about before.
So I think in a way, like, even though painting is completely rooted in the world, like in that physical aspect of the world, like it's also like offers something really different, than our experience in the world, which, is like more sort of like, or can be, more sort of ephemeral, like especially when you think of the ways that people communicate.
I just paint because I like to paint. It doesn't have any relationship to time or a century, or whether it is relevant to what's going on in Chelsea, or whether it's relevant to what's going on in Mexico City. I paint because that's what I like to do. Some people like to fix motorcycles, some people like to work on antique clocks, some people like to be graphic designers and work on websites. I paint because that's what I like.
And if you look at the gallery scene or the museum scene, you see things in all traditions. I mean, I would say the Monet show now at Gagosian is a perfect example of that. This is a contemporary gallery that realizes that painting that is, almost 100 years old is as alive today as it was, as it ever was.
I love the Marina Abramovic show, and I'm inspired by that kind of work because it's very personal, but it also speaks about a larger place in the world that you can occupy, and your relationship to everything. That interests me. I don't tend to like work where there's nothing personal about it.
Like a lot of people like ask me about the emotional content of my work, and I just like, I think, that sort of intimacy, like that, like 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 a feeling of like sort of maybe almost empathizing with, you know, another person. Like I can't like sort of prescribe like a formula for how I get to that place, but I know that when a painting's not successful, more often than not, that's like the missing thing from it.
I just think that we have a strong desire to see our own images, or images like us. It's innate. It's in film. It's everywhere that you look.
For me, it's like I think I prefer to paint people that I'm either connected to or that I know. If for some reason I feel like if I paint what I know, it connects easier to the viewer, and the viewer can see that it kind of goes beyond just the painting. There's more of a connection. There's more depth to the painting than just, oh, it's some random couple on a bench, somewhere. So I mean, for me, it's the series that I did, it has more to do with my family and friends, and the ongoing time lapse that happens over that time.
People lose the idea of how long it takes to make an image, how labor intensive it is.
And I think so, like when you look at like representational painting or figure painting, like, like everybody is working really differently, and the things that they value are different, and that's like embedded in their work, and it becomes like impossible to really like make them all fit into that.
And I think categories are really harmful in that I think that the words one uses in discourse are very important to the growth of art, to the freedom of expression. And as soon as you pigeonhole someone, I think it stops discussion.
The learning, the discovery process is painting. The making the painting is the investigation. It's sort of a big sort of data collecting journey.
I think if I were in this moment and I'd want to capture it and look back on it, what would be the most important things that I were trying to keep in that image?
It's I am my past. And since my work is about me, it's easier for me to reference my past. But really, how much work is about the future? How much artwork is really about the future?
He always like wants to throw that old dirty shoe at you, like painting is dead, painting doesn't matter, but like that's not important. Like the more like important thing to do if you think about art, and what artists do. I mean, like, it demands a certain amount of like freedom, and like the important thing to focus on, I guess, is not whether something's new or, but what it can do, that's like different.
Tuesday's layer on top of Wednesday's layer on top of Thursday's layer. And as time unfolds, all this gets stacked on top of each other, boom, 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 boom. And then you start sort of scraping down and you start wiping out Thursday and trying to dig up Wednesday again. And where's Tuesday coming from? And there's like, the ghosts of the day before and the day before and the day before that. They're all piling on top of the current day.
And to the extent that an individual can be accountable for his or her own world, and to do it in a way with integrity and with sort of justification of one's own existence, I think is something that is also very 21st century.
I think it's more powerful when it's sincere. I think it's easier to make when it's sincere. Because otherwise, I mean, you're just an actor.
Time. That you're sort of digging through this time of this experience with someone. And that is maybe the real subject.